this ayah or verse, like many other ayat, or offer imagery. A lot of times, because we're living in the scientific age, we start looking at every text we read as a science textbook. Quran is not a science textbook. The Quran is talking about the story of Dhul Qarnayn. And Dhul Qarnayn travels to different lands. And I want you to just imagine this picture. He gets to maybe above a mountain, or he's at this point where he can see the scenery. He sees the sun setting, and he sees a lake in front of him. And the sun appears to be setting inside the lake. The picture of the sun, drowning inside the lake as he's looking over it. You're asked to imagine this scene as he's watching it. God is not saying the sun set inside a lake. He's talking about the view that he saw. He saw it from that perspective, that scene. It's a clue as to what kind of area he was in, what kind of environment he was surrounded by, and what he was looking at. It's painting a picture. To look at that and say, well, Muslims believe that the sun sets inside the ocean is ridiculous. And to give you other examples like that, in conversation, husband and wife are arguing. And, the husband says, I give you everything. Just in the middle of the heat of the conversation, he says, I gave you everything. And somebody says, hey, that's totally scientifically incorrect. You did not give her everything. Everything means you gave her all existence. Every single molecule in existence you gave to her. That's dumb. What he means by I gave you everything is I gave you a lot of stuff. I've done everything I can for you. He doesn't have to spell it out that way because language is fluid like that, right? So it's a very shallow and not very well thought out kind of approach to say every time I find something in the Quran that's literary in nature, I'm going to try to interpret it literally and then say, well, it doesn't make any scientific sense. It's disingenuous. Similarly, just to give you one more example, we say all the time, you broke my heart. Quran says their hearts became hard. But if you do perform surgery on someone whose heart has become hard according to the Quran, guess what? It's still a soft piece of flesh. It's not made of rock. And God says it became like rock or even tougher than in stiffness. And if you were to open it up, you'd still find a soft heart inside. So what's he talking about? It's the same as when you and I say, well, they broke my heart. Or a grandmother looks at her children and says, every time they come here, they melt my heart. It doesn't mean that if you look with an x-ray, you'll find, mush inside. It's not what that means. It's a figure of speech. So the Quran is full of such figures of speech, as is all old literature and even new.